What's up, losers? Today I'm back with some more r/fatlogic shenanigans. Checking out a couple of posts. And offering up whatever thoughts and opinions I might have about them. This is episode 91 in the fatlogic series. And I am excited to see what fresh hot takes the fat activists have got for me this time. So without further dilly-dallying, let's get into it.
I know I'm going to burn in hell for this. But oh well, a friend and I just got into it. Because she was complaining about how fat she was. 167 pounds. Oh my, instead of being a supportive friend, I gave her shit. I did apologize, but not before explaining to her that she has no freaking clue what legit fat is like and how exponentially harder it is to lose weight when you are legit fat. Is it just me?
Well, I don't know if you're going to burn in hell for having a disagreement with a friend, but I do think you're wrong in your assertion that being, quote, legit fat makes it exponentially harder to lose weight. Because the reality is that the bigger you get, the more you can afford to eat, while still remaining in a calorie deficit. So in this most fundamental of ways, being bigger actually makes it easier to lose weight, to lose a lot of weight, and to lose this weight quickly. There are obviously other factors at play here that might work in the other direction, and I am perfectly happy to recognize their significance. For one thing, the bigger you get, the harder it will be to exercise. And this will limit your ability to burn calories through physical activity. But beyond that, on a psychological level, I don't doubt that being massively overweight could be really demoralizing. And even debilitating, because it might lead one to believe that they are already too far gone. And that being thin just isn't an option for them. Which might in turn lead them to overeat for comfort. And continue the vicious circle of weight gain. Acknowledging these challenges, however, is not the same as endorsing the self-defeating mindset that they engender. Because the best way to overcome the psychological barrier that prevents people from successfully dieting is to remind them that it's really not as insurmountable as they think it is. And that they too can lose weight, with a little discipline and perseverance. Posts like this might make fat people feel better about themselves. But as far as weight loss goes, they are profoundly unhelpful, and they also implicitly downplay the achievements of people who manage to become and stay thin, despite enjoying food just as much as anyone else. So that's not cool. In summary, stop making excuses for your own failure to lose weight. And stop taking your frustration out on your friends. Okay, cool.
Shared components between supervised, evidence-based obesity treatment, mirror interventions for ED, by including overall concepts of diet quality versus quantity, physical activity versus sedentary activity, self-monitoring, and building a healthy body image.
This is dangerously misleading. As a reminder, intentional weight loss attempts are about manipulating food and movement, sometimes in combination with dangerous drugs or surgeries, in an effort to create a negative energy balance, which is to say, that someone must give their body less fuel than it needs to survive, in the hopes that it will consume itself and become smaller, which has a long-term failure rate hovering about 100%. An attempt to manipulate body size in this way is wildly incompatible with eating disorders prevention or treatment. In fact, intentional weight loss attempts are often precursors to disordered eating and eating disorders, and calling them evidence-based and supervised doesn't change that, no matter how much the diet industry's profits might depend on it.
Ha ha wow. The way this post describes dieting makes it sound like some kind of witchcraft or something. Like, instead of eat less exercise more. We've got the manipulation of food and movement. Sounds sinister, doesn't it? Who would want to involve themselves in something like that? In reality, the kinds of diet practices described in the post are much more mundane and much less dangerous than this hyperbolic language would have you believe, when it says that a negative energy balance gives the body less fuel than it needs to survive. This seems to suggest that running any calorie deficit will kill you, when all that is actually likely to occur from running a moderate deficit is that you shed a few pounds, i.e., exactly what you were hoping to achieve with the diet in the first place. When it says that dieting has a failure rate hovering around 100%, this is just rubbish, and we all know it. Sure, a high proportion of people who diet might end up putting the weight back on due to a reversion to earlier eating habits. But plenty of people do not regain the weight, and they deserve to be heard and recognized. Their experiences and achievements cannot simply be written off, because fat activists want to pretend that sustained weight loss is impossible. And I find this attempt to do just that as insulting as it is moronic. And as for this post's overall message, that weight loss is categorically incompatible with eating disorder prevention and treatment, I am, once again, going to have to wholeheartedly disagree. Developing an eating disorder is unhealthy and destructive. But being obese is unhealthy and destructive too. We can't just tell people that they have to accept one or the other, because neither outcome is remotely desirable. We have to offer another alternative. And responsible, supervised weight loss and management seems like as good an option as any in this regard. Is it possible that someone might still develop an eating disorder under these circumstances? Sure, but there's no reason to think it likely. And if it does happen, it's almost certainly going to be as a result of other underlying psychological problems, not just a moderate reduction in food intake. In summary, we can't allow ourselves to be ruled by the fear of what might happen, when what is already happening is extremely harmful in its own right. If we really care about fat people, we need to allow them the possibility for a way out, a better life, a light at the end of the tunnel, not to tell them that they are incapable of change, and stir up so much terror in them that they are too afraid to even give it a try.
CW size mention. Weight mention. I've been doing intuitive eating, and it's wonderful to finally be free of restrictions and moral judgments around food. For the most part, I eat a balanced diet, but I have gained weight. I'm now close to 300 pounds, with a really big belly, and big boobs and butt. I look very pregnant. I find now that walking makes my lower back really hurt. After a couple blocks, I have to sit down to let it recover. I think it's how my center of gravity has shifted. But looking for tips, because not being able to walk without taking breaks has really limited option for enjoyable movement and outdoor time. No suggestion too silly. Personal experience with similar situation preferred.
Intuitive eating, ladies and gentlemen. You gotta love it. No, but seriously, this is just sad. Here we've got someone actively screwing up their own life and damaging their body to the point that they can't even walk properly. Yet they're being cheered on by a whole community of delusional people who have somehow got it through their heads that this kind of quote-unquote intuitive eating is in any way preferable to a more planned out and controlled diet. It's nothing short of insanity. So much for the fat acceptance ideal of joyful movement. Right. Turns out it's not that easy to move, joyfully or otherwise, when you pack on so many pounds that your body just isn't equipped to carry it all around anymore. Who would have guessed? I don't want to go on about this one much more, because that would just be mean and unproductive. But I wanted to include this post just to give an example of the real-world damage that fat acceptance causes. If people internalize its messages, this is a person who, if they had sought advice elsewhere, could be living a healthy, comfortable life, but instead, they're grappling with massive weight gain, back pain, and an inability to walk for an extended period without taking a break. It didn't, and doesn't, have to be this way, and as far as I'm concerned, fat acceptance has a lot to answer for leading people to voluntarily subject themselves to such unnecessary punishment. Well, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed these posts. And that you got something out of my commentary. What do you think? Is weight loss exponentially harder for legit fat people? Is intentional weight loss of any kind incompatible with eating disorder prevention? Is intuitive eating worth it if you put on so much weight that you can hardly walk? Let me know in the comments. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, or I'll use my black magic powers to manipulate food and movement, and it'll be so spooky that you'll be unable to finish your quadruple bypass burger. Just kidding, haha. Anyway, catch you later.